A while back, I was running a game online, Feast of Legends, if it matters. Here, I'll show you this wonderful, weird game by, of all people, Wendy's. It's a Wendy's game, and I'm not going to get into the politics of Wendy's. The game itself is fun. You don't have to buy Wendy's, you don't have to buy anything to have it, or you can buy Wendy's. In any case, we were running the game, and we had another program that offered our ability to chat with each other, and we had voice. And it allowed dice rolls, which is important for those types of games. What it didn't have, though, and what we needed, is if we look through here, there are different maps. So let me go ahead and see if I can find a map real fast. And I have a couple prepared a little bit, but say this map right here. Now, the players might only see parts of it at a time, things of that nature, but yeah, there are these different maps, and me as the person running the game, let's just see if I can find another one. I go ahead and I can place tokens, images of them, and images of bad guys or of treasure chests or of whatever throughout that. But we didn't have a good way of sharing this. Now, there's lots of other ways to do that. There are programs out there that are made specifically for role-playing games. There are whiteboards out there, but I didn't know any offhand, and I actually was already using a tool to do initiative. What that is, if you're not familiar in a game, it's when some big exciting action starts taking place, often a battle, you have initiative as far as who's going to go first. So it might look something like this. Player 1, and say there are 4 players here, and then bad guys. And maybe the bad guys are, let's do the color, let's do text. Text color, let's have them in red just so we can see them different. Red, let's do that correctly. There we go. And the way you pick initiative, it's different in different games, but I'll have the roll right here. You roll a die, a 20-sided die in most games, or in many games, and then you might add a number to it, maybe your dexterity, or whatever the term is in that game. And so player 1 might roll a 15, and player 2 might roll a 6, and player 3, I'm just making up numbers here, they got a 21. Well, how did you do that on a 20-sided die? Because they have a +3. Again, I'm just making up these numbers. Somebody else rolls an 8, and the bad guys, I roll for them. If there's more than one bad guy, just to make things easy, often you'll just roll all of the bad guys at once, or sometimes there's 2 different types of bad guys and they might have 2 things, but it's often easiest to just say the bad guys all go at once. So there we go. Now, well, that's a little chaotic. Who goes first here? Well, I do sort descending, and now I can see player 3 goes first, and that would be their names there. Player 1, bad guys, player 4, and player 2. So we already had that. And if I want to call this table initiative, I could do that. Oops, have to spell it correctly. And so just copy that, and I'll put that name here for the sheet. So I already had that also as a tool. And I could go ahead and copy this as an image and paste it into something else, but I already had that as a tool. So the question came, how do we get maps? And so I just wanted to do something quickly. So I just hit a tab right here. I don't even need a table. Nice thing about numbers is I can go ahead and have a blank area, and it's basically limitless size. So that makes it really nice. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring in one of the maps from the game. Now, the way I got this map, by the way, let's see if I can find it. It doesn't even matter which map it is. I could take a screenshot, Command-Shift-4 on a Mac, and then just drag it right over. And it will bring that in. Except I don't want that one. I'm going to go ahead use the one I'm semi-prepared for. But, that's not quite right because, well, I'll go into why it's not quite right in a minute. I want to have the players there, and I'm going to go ahead and make a shape maybe for a player. I could change the size here to, I don't know, in testing before I found it to be, I don't remember, 0.45. We could always change this. I constrain the proportion so it did it in both sides, height and width, and I'm going to say image fill. I'm then going to choose an image and bring in, this is the picture of one of my players that they wanted to use for their character. I could then, if I want to, go ahead and put a border on it and make that border be, maybe the good guys will have green, or each person has their own color, whatever. I could go ahead and do that. So that's an option right there. And just to keep some consistency, I actually already have this copied elsewhere. That's what I have as that player. If I want another player, if I want to keep it consistent, I could just copy this over right here, choose another image, do the duck. I know I have a duck there. Boom. Exactly consistent, same size, same shape, same color on the outside, and I could do that with others. I'm going to just go ahead off screen. I have something saved, and there are my players right there. 4 players, each one of them knows their image. I can also have some bad guys if I wanted to. Let's go ahead. I'm going to copy this over here, choose an image, and one of the bad guys in this game is the Ice Jester. So there he is, and maybe for the bad guy, whoops, I will change the color to red. That way people know it's a bad guy, a little easier to keep track of. Or I can, again, I'm just doing a copy and paste from someplace else, I could have a fries guy. This is a Wendy's game. They have French fries as bad guys. Have that. If I have more than one French fry, though, there's a bunch of bad guy French fries. Something I came up with was I could just go ahead and add a little text box and put a number in it. Get that number to be a little bit bigger. I think I went with size 18. I could be wrong in that. I don't know. But size, do 1. And then I can group these together. Click on the 2, right-click and group, and that moves as a group. I could have put the numbers there, but even when they're grouped, I'm using the Option key, and I could drag it over, double-click again, and I could have 2, double-click. So it's pretty easy to work with. I'm going through this fairly quickly because I really just want this to be an overview, an idea, not a detail. I'm going to go ahead and move these guys over here because I'm going to want to do a little bit more with that map. Because our map has a bit of a challenge. When you're describing where you want to go in a game, you have a certain distance, and each player may have a different distance. So maybe this player is over here, and they want to run over to here and check that out. Well, can they go that far? The way you generally determine that in a lot of games is you have a grid. And so I needed to come up with a grid real fast. So, well, hey, this is a spreadsheet. I can create a table right here, and look at that. It's a grid. And maybe make it be 0.5 by 0.5, the length and the width, and make more of these. I'm going to go through and do this. I already have one made, and so I'm going to go ahead and do this a little, just to show the idea here. And where is it? Table name, I don't need it. So that right there is a grid, and I could put just the grid over it, but here's the weakness. Okay, let me go ahead and make those lines a little bit darker, a little easier to see. So I can go ahead, that might be too dark, whatever, gets the idea. I could say I can run from there. Well, that's a challenge in itself. When you're treating it as a table, things will get stuck into the cells. So having it as a table itself might not be great. And the other thing we found out quickly, well, I want to go 3 down and 2 across, and that became confusing. If I click on the table, notice there's the A, B, C, D going across, 1, 2, 3, 4. It acts almost like a battleship map. So I dragged that over here, and I made one. Let's drag over a little further, so the more I drag, it's probably darker than I need it. Oh yeah, just 1 point maybe. Let's go ahead and get the whole grid, 1 point. And then I can click on it, click this little circle, and then take a picture, take a screenshot, Command-Shift-4, and paste. And now here's my picture. This did take a little bit of time to get it. Well, the picture is that white right there. I can go into what they call Instant Alpha and just click each square. Yeah, you have to do each square. There's probably easier ways. And I think actually when I did this, I may have used another program to do it. There are other programs that allow you to get rid of all of the white, although I didn't keep all the... So I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly how I did it when I did it, but I created just one image called Grid, which I was able to bring over so I could reuse it time and time again, and it's easy enough to resize. And so I know those are all square. Constrained proportions is important. And let's go ahead and make that, maybe I know each one of these is 5 foot, so I know the scale of this, and that well is important, so I want to know exactly where the well is, but I then don't want the picture to hang over there, so I'm going to right-click on it and say Edit Mask, and I could just shrink that down. Now let's go ahead and say Done on there. I could have that map wherever I want, select these 2 items, send them to the back, and lock them. Now, if you're with me still, I now have the person, where did I say he was over here? And he wants to run to over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares to get there. Well, if he can only move 4 in his turn, he knows he can't get there. So you have those squares right there, and I now have this map. It doesn't lock in. I could have someone there, but we just approximate it. I could have the bad guys wherever they need to be, and I could shrink those guys down a little bit, do whatever I want with them. Here's another bad guy. Everyone could be moved around as they want. Now, the question, of course, becomes, I can move them around, but I have the different players. Can they move them around? Well, all I need to do is hit Collaborate, and I'm going to say Copy Link, or I could have messaged them, whatever, and I'm going to say, only people you invite. I could do that. Well, nobody's going to have the link except the people I give it to during the game, and if it becomes a problem, I could always change the permissions. And yes, they can make changes. I could say View Only, and so I am going to say Share, and it's going to take just a moment to get that started. And once that happens, this right here we're going to pretend is another player someplace else. So it should have copied that link. Yep. Untitled 2. I haven't even saved it. It's saved just in the cloud right now. And it should take just a moment. On my side here, it's going to pop up saying somebody else has joined. And Brock McNuggets, great. We could use that as a name. And Brock McNuggets has joined. Great. Now, they can go ahead and see the initiative, and I could go ahead and copy this onto the same page, or usually that's just done once per battle, and so I would copy that into a separate chat. Sheet 1, right there. And they can go ahead, and they can move this. Notice here, by the way, on my view, I have somebody has clicked on that. And actually, each person would have their own color, so I could see who's moving it. I can't stop a particular person, and each person can move anybody's stuff. I can't, in a true whiteboard system, you can say, the players can't move the bad guys, and the players can't move other tokens other than their own. You might even be able to lock things out. I can't do that here, but, I can give them freedom to do stuff. And this is good for a small group of people you trust. And notice I changed this name to map there. It's there. Let's see, what else did I do with it? They had, let's add a new tab. They had a town they were in called Biggie Vale. Again, remember this was a Wendy's game, so of course they have Biggies in there. All I had to do is drop Biggie Vale in. I could resize it if I wanted to. Yes. And then there's this right here. I don't want the text. I copied that from the PDF. I don't want this text there. So what I did is I could just, let me go ahead and go through this step by step. Command-Shift-4. Again, I'm going through this really fast. I do know that. And drag that image in. And just drag it over that text. Now that's actually happened to work out. If I needed to, I could say take off constrained proportions. It just happened to be a size that would work. And I still don't want them necessarily to drag that. I could just group those. It's really not going to matter if I just group those and then people wouldn't see it. But what I did is I grabbed all of it and then took a screenshot of that and dragged that in. Now I have a screenshot without the text there. And so, if they accidentally are players being, whatever, they can't see that stuff I don't want them to. I trust my players, they're not going to do anything wrong. And I can even go back to that instant alpha and get rid of all of that stuff there. And so it's a nice little bit prettier of a picture. And then, so they would know what you can do in the different areas or whatever. Boom, there it is. And if I don't want them to accidentally be able to move it, I can lock those. Now, they can actually unlock them also. Yeah, they can go right in here. I think they can unlock. Unlock right there. It doesn't show up on the right click. Oh, yeah, it does. But they can unlock. But again, I trust my players not to. They're not going to do anything that they shouldn't. And so there we have it. And I also had an overview map of what the whole area. They had all sorts of different areas that they went to. And so I started off, I can go ahead, I want to show something else about shapes. And I can create this shape here and change the color, maybe change it to blue and label it as Fort Baconator. Baconator, that's one of the names in the game. Fort Baconator. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, copy it over eventually. So they would have an overview map of everywhere we were going. Overview map. There we go. And here it was. And if I wanted to change it, I can ungroup it. I could, if I needed to change something, I'm going to go ahead and group all of this. The only thing I really needed to change is adding more places. They started off in Freshtovia and eventually went to Frosty Canyon, then came back, then went to Dave's Double Hills, and I put some notes for some people they met. And yeah, these were good trails. This was a worse trail. There ended up being a rock slide right here that they couldn't then get from Biggie Vale back to the fork in the road. Yeah, that was my sense of humor. So I was able to put a shape right here, and let's go ahead and straighten that out some, and put the shape there. Brown's not a color here. I don't have to have it as brown, but I can easily set any color I want. All sorts of different color pickers here. And then make that much wider. And then to show that it's sort of a collapsed area, change the style to that. And say, okay, that right there has been a landslide. That's basically unpassable. You might be able to, but it would take you a while. And then I can go ahead and lock that and just lock this whole thing. And I'll occasionally unlock it and add things as needed. Which brings me back to the map. I forgot to show something there. This is a game of magic, and you could do fireballs, and you could do stuff like that. Say this player right here casts a fireball. Okay? We could do shape. What shape do we want that fireball to be? Maybe we'll make it be a star. And yeah, really, boom, there it is. And it's going to get this whole area here. Maybe it gets 9 squares. Now I can go ahead and set that to be red and transparent. And I don't want it in the very, very far back. If I say send to back, yeah, it's going to go out all the way to the very back. So I'm going to hit Apple Z to undo that because of course I want my map in the further back. But I could go to arrange and I can send it backward, 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 backward until it's too far back and then bring it forward. Notice I could even have it before, after grids or whatever. There it is. Then I can lock that. Actually, I don't even have to lock it. As long as people are careful, they can move over it. So you could still pick it up. And I know after so many rounds it goes away. So you can even have different markers like that on the game, which is kind of cool. I think that's basically it. And all of that is available. Let's go ahead and just expand this. For any of my players, if they go back to the map, they can do the same thing. They can come here and they could say, yeah, I'm going to cast an ice wall. I don't know. I'm making that up. I don't know if there's an ice wall in that game. I don't think so. But they can come over here to shapes and maybe, I said ice wall. Let's see. What is there? Is there something interesting I can use as an ice wall? I could use even one of these right here and reshape it. Sure, why not? And I don't want that to be constrained proportions. So maybe this is their ice wall. I'm not sure that I'm in love with that as a shape, but whatever, they can go ahead and yeah, they've split the playing field. It's hard to get through here because of an ice wall. And we will go ahead, style it and make it, I don't know, what color we want that to be. Light gray, transparent, hard to see, so a border on it. And maybe make the border a little bit bigger, just so we know that it's there. And again, because you want it to be, where people can move stuff over it, send it all the way to the back. This is actually going to be a little bit easier, and then forward. There, that's just enough to see it. And then now I can pick up tokens, and I'm standing on top of the ice wall now, maybe, if you can do so. Anyway, you could put whatever shape there you want. I probably, for an ice wall, probably would have been better just to have a straight rectangle, but I just wanted to show that you can do different shapes. There's 1,000,006 shapes in here. If there's something, suddenly a chicken runs into the thing. Chicken runs in. There we go. We have a giant chicken now there. So you can go ahead and add those. I know you can on the desktop. I'm just curious. Can I make this editable here? Yeah, there's a few things that you cannot do on the online version, but that's okay. Here I can, let me go just drag it over. I could say make editable, and its tail is now huge, whatever. I could go ahead and change any of these points on any of these shapes and make my own shape. It's now a warped weird chicken. That shape, I'm going to guess, will show up okay with the changes here. Yeah, you just can't edit it online, at least not that I know of. So there's still a few things you can't do online. You could also delete it. And it's gone from here. But that works really well. Works great as a whiteboard. Worked great for us. Again, you don't want to do this for a big class of students where you have 20 students and they're going to be messing around, and young children who are going to be playing around. But for a game with friends or something like that, or you just want to get an idea across, here we have numbers. Works great, really, as a whiteboard. Allows you to draw on, and I haven't shown you everything you can do with here. If you want to draw something, there's a line going through here and through here. I want to draw a shape of my own. I can do that, and you could even go ahead and have it be circled and curved. You can do all sorts of stuff here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that whole shape. You can add movies. I do not think play online, but you could add your own photos. You can record audio. I'm not certain if that actually plays online. You could put comments in, shapes, text, charts, things of that nature. I'm going to chart, and this will work online if I wanted to see who was going to go first. I probably wouldn't for initiative, but this is a spreadsheet, keep in mind. Chart. Let's do a line chart. Well, maybe, I don't know, whatever. Well, it doesn't really make sense to have any of these charts here for this, but whatever type chart you want, it will show up here. And so there we go. Maybe if you were tracking how often somebody got to go first, I don't know. But we didn't do that. For our purposes, this was plenty, and it worked really well. It was pretty quick in play. I know I did not go in much detail here. I rushed through a lot of this stuff. Just wanted to give the idea of how numbers can be used online as a whiteboard. And while I only showed one virtual person here, you can have many. I know I could have 4. That's what I had with 4 players. That worked flawlessly. You can have more than that, I'm sure. I just don't know the limit.